and I've got some of the salmon that be due to be stocked out this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also got some young sea trout that are due to be stocked out this year. And I've got some sea trout broodstock. I've got some big fish that you might be able to pick up on next. I haven't fed them this morning, so they'll be quite interested in getting some food. And some of them, the bigger ones I've got, they're what, 10, they're more than 10 years old now. And I think I've taken about 7 sets of eggs off of them, but they're still growing. And the younger stock, they're about 5 years old now. And I've had one lot of eggs off of them, so I'll be sipping them each year. And one of the problems with losing sea trout, losing your bigger sea trout, you're not just losing 1 year's worth of eggs, you're losing several years worth of eggs, because these fish will go on and spawn every year. So I'll let you see some of the young salmons. I'll tell you the story of these fish. This is a fish that I stripped. This is a fish that I stripped this year. She was a 20-pound hen, and I didn't notice at the time, but when I got her back, she was actually fin clipped. So she was a fish I had put in, fin clipped her. And this is half of her. That's your young. Now these are getting the size that I would be thinking about putting them out. These are about they're about 3 grams. They're probably averaging about 3 grams at the moment. The feed for all of these fish is the size of the feed is obviously relative to the size of the fish. And when you start them off, I mean that's the size of feed for the fish I'm just going to show you. And then if you look at this size of feed, that young salmon I showed you there, that's the size of. So you can see how it's a very small pellet for the younger fish. Then as they grow, you actually start off with almost dust to begin with when they start feeding. And then as they grow, the pellet size simply increases. Now, if they're as enthusiastic as normal, you might get a bit of splashing. You can see how they look pretty much like brown trout these. These also off sea trout parents. I'm used to getting a shower when I feed this one. I've done 2 years without a single mortality. And the funny thing is, I used to get plagued with saprolegnia fungus, and it's a particularly a problem when fish mature, when fish start to mature, and it's a natural thing that they get in the wild. But for some reason, over the last 3 years, I don't get any fungus here at all now. So something strange has happened that I don't get the saprolegnia, which means I don't get the mortality, basically. Now these fish, you can see these fish are in tanks with lid. They don't see anybody at all. They only see me when I come in to feed them. And these I would call these fish more domesticated because they've been in captivity for 5 years now, and they are being fed the way they're being fed. So I would say that these fish wouldn't do so well going out into the wild. But those little fish I showed you, they only see me once a day. Get their feed, and the rest of the time they're in. It's not darkness, but it's very dim light for them, and I don't think they'll have a problem then in adapting to the wild. But this is the highlight of the day for this lot, getting a grub. I can easily do the stripping myself. I can take the fish out and do all that myself. I've had help on occasions, but I usually just do it myself. And the same with the salmon. I use the smaller 2-meter tanks for the wild salmon. All these young fry will be gone before I catch up any salmon for broodstock. So those tanks will be available, they'll be empty. And I take the salmon back from the river, all rod caught fish that I take in for broodstock. I take them back from the river, put them into the tank, and in those small 2-meter diameter, about 1 meter deep tanks, I'll hold up to maybe 10 salmon. And the interesting thing is, you'll often get the comment that you're taking the fish out of the river into an unnatural situation. It's going to be under stress. I can assure you that fish taken back into these tanks show no sign of stress whatsoever. When you lift the lid, they're lying in the bottom of the tank, side by side, in the same way as they're lying at the bottom of a pool. So there's no stress whatsoever. And now that I don't get any saprolegnia, the time I finish stripping them, and it only takes me about 30 seconds to remove the eggs from a fish, which is done under anaesthetic. So the fish are knocked out and I take the eggs off them. They come back after the anaesthetic very quickly. I then put them back to the river within 2 or 3 days, and they're in perfect condition. The only difference is that they haven't had to go through the rigours of natural spawning, because it's all been done for them. And the chances are they'll have a much better chance of surviving. They maybe go back to sea and come back again. It's quite easy. To check the water, if I don't want to lift the lid of the tank, I just come and check the outflow. Because I know that if it's coming out here, it's coming in at the other end. Right, I don't think that. And the way I work these tanks, if obviously to try and net a fish out of one of these tanks is not easy. But how you do that is you just drop the level. You let the level go right down. And once the level gets down to about this sort of level, you can get in with a long handled net and you can catch the individuals and get them that way. Give up. And these are probably up to about 8 pounds in weight, some of these. I still get a lot of pleasure watching fish feed. There's something nice about watching them come and take a pellet.
I think the situation has changed, particularly now that salmon are on the red list, that it's no longer just about fishing, about angling. And when we started the programme, it was very much just to get some more fish back in the river that could be caught. Not necessarily fish that be killed, but certainly allow anglers to catch some fish. But the way things are now, and the way some of our rivers have gone, particularly our smaller West Coast rivers, this is a conservation issue now. We really need to think about saving rivers and stopping particular stocks becoming extinct, which is a very real possibility. So it has changed the picture, and I think stocking should certainly be part of the solution. It should be looked at as being part of the solution. I think it's a very important tool to have in the box. It wouldn't necessarily be the right thing to do in all rivers, but it certainly shouldn't be dismissed, because I think for some rivers it will be the only way forward.